Good afternoon, virtual villagers. I'm not usually on in the afternoon. I just would like you to say hello to somebody. This is my little Jack. He's decided to go upstairs and help us today. This is my little dog, Jack. So I'm just going to pop him down now because he's a bit heavy. Right, so are you ready for winter wreaths? Winter door wreaths. I'm just bringing up your comments. This is what we're aiming for. This is the one I knocked up yesterday. Can you see all of that? Let me move back. So it's got, I've gone with a snow theme. So it's got snowballs, snowflakes, and tiny snowflakes around there, and a tree here, small trees. Now, I like this sort of slightly off-balanced, almost like a crescent shape. So all the decoration is coming around to here. Then after that, it's just little bits of decoration. So this is what we're aiming for. I think you'll agree it's quite nice. I'm going to show you what you need. I'll just put that one down. I'll keep bringing that one back up to show you the different elements as I go along. So you need a wreath base. That's the back side, that's the front side. This is a 30 centimetre vine wreath. Now, they come like this, and I've dabbed it all over with a bit of white acrylic paint. This is just the cheap kids one. Yesterday, the one I did yesterday, I used fake snow, but it didn't dry. So the fake paint has dried. So that's your wreath base. You will also need some pipe cleaners. So I've got white and brown here, and you'll realise what they're for later. A piece of ribbon, some very fine silver florist wire, obviously trusty glue gun, wool and pom-pom makers to make pom-poms. I've got some bits of glitter. That one's a white embossing glitter. It's very, very fine, and that's a silver biodegradable glitter. That's also quite fine. I've got right, I put a template up for cut out snowflakes, and I printed mine out yesterday onto some nice pearlescent card. I'm going to apologise for my template. They were horrendously difficult to cut out. I had to end up cutting out with the craft knife, so hence I've only got one. So what I found in my stash, stuff left over from Christmas, was some ready cut out ones. These are plastic. I tried to avoid using plastic, which is why I went for the template, but it was just going to be too difficult. So these are a mixture. There's silver, there's some sort of blue metallic ones as well, almost pearlescent. There's white ones. That's the pearlescent one. I don't know whether you can see that if I move it about. It's got like a pearlescent sheen on it. So I'm going to use those. I'm going to use the one I managed to cut out, and I'm going to use those. I've also got tiny snowflakes. These are like confetti as well. I've had this bag for years. I don't know how many there was. It must have been 1,000, I think. And I just keep using a few every time I need one. What else have I got to show you? I've also got some little ready-made pom-poms. These have got silver glitter in them as well. See, I've got wintry lilac nails to match. Actually, mentioning my nails brings me on to colour, because I've done mine all in white, but any sorts of shades of pale grey and blue would be nice as well. I've gone for the snowy feel, so it's winter but not Christmas. The other thing I've got is I've got a tree. Now this is one I bought. I have a little Christmas village, and I bought these this year to go on it, but they're basically wire covered in fake snow. Now, because not everybody will have one of these, I've had a go at making one with pipe cleaners, and that was the result, which I quite like. Again, it's been I've dabbed it with white paint, and I've put on some of the glitter as well. So I'm going to show you how to make this as part of the demo today. I'm going to show you how to make each of the different elements, and then we'll assemble it. So let me point the camera down. Oh, and use scissors. You need scissors and glue. I think I've mentioned glue. Let me just get the glitter off my hands. Right, I'll point the camera down so you can see my workspace. So the first thing, we'll go back to this. You can get a close-up look at it now. This big pom-pom here, I saw these done on the internet and I thought, what a lovely idea. So this is where your white pipe cleaners come in. Now the other thing I'm going to show you, I've half done it just so it doesn't take a massive amount of time. This ball I'm using is paper. I was quite intrigued when I came across these. It's spun paper to use instead of polystyrene, which I think is a brilliant idea, particularly when you're using glue, because hot glue tends to melt polystyrene, and I prefer hot glue because it's very quick. So as you can see, all you do is coil the white pipe cleaner round and round the ball and gluing it as you go. Now I've done the first half just to make it quicker, but I want to show you how to start it off. Now these balls already have a hole in the top, so I would bend over about ½ inch of your pipe cleaner so it can go in the top, and that'll make it just a little bit more secure. You can glue it in there. And to start with, because the coil is very tight at the beginning, I'm going to wrap it around a pencil to get it started. So I'm going to leave that inch and just wrap that round, and that's got it started. As you can see, I'm just waiting while my glue warms up, and then I'm going to do the coiling before I glue it down, just because it makes life a little bit simpler. When it's a very tight coil, you've got glue and a ball, and you're trying to get all them things in your hands at once. It does make it a little difficult. So I'm just going to say a few hellos and a happy New Year's as well, because I haven't seen you since New Year. Hi to Rosemary. Rosemary's a regular watcher. Hi to Mickey. Hello to Teresa. Okay, so my glue's ready now. I'm just going to move my trees out of the way before I knock them over. So I'm going to put some glue in the hole at the end. I think some came out then. Yeah. And stick that spare bit in there. It might spill out a little bit, but we don't mind that. Push that down. Now, end of a pencil to push down your glue. I'm forever burning my fingers, and I will learn eventually. And then I'm going to put some glue underneath each coil. So you can just sort of zigzag it underneath so it catches all of the first coils. After this first bit, you'll just be doing it as you go, gluing it as you go. Okay, so let's push all of that down. Ow. Still burn my fingers even with the pencil. And then the last bit. I always find the last bit of the pipe cleaners are a bit difficult to glue because the wire just wants to spring back, so I'll put extra glue on for that. And that also, I found the hot glue takes longer to set for some reason on these paper balls. Right, so I'm going to take my next pipe cleaner, pop that on, try and hold it down. Hi to Donna. I hope you all had a nice Christmas and New Year. I did. Very nice. Very quiet, but very nice. Now I'm just going to gradually work this round. Getting glue all over my fingers. Why am I not using my pencil? I forget. I get carried away with gluing and forget to use the pencil. I've got bits of thread all over my glue gun now. I gave my glue gun a clean. You'd be amazed how much gunk was on it. Just going to hold that till it sets because it keeps springing back. So the bit I did before I came on air, I used 3 pipe cleaners on that bit, and I think the 2 I've got here are going to do this. That does not want to stick down. Never mind, we'll put that to the back when we come to stick it on our wreath. So we'll just see if I can finish it off. I might need another one. So keep winding that round. Ow, that last bit doesn't want to stick. No, I don't think it's going to quite do it, so I might need a bit of extra pipe cleaner, but maybe not a whole one. Now, as I said, for some reason, on these paper balls takes slightly longer to set. I don't know why. If anybody out there knows why, tell me. But we're getting there. Just going to tweak that a little bit at the end so that when it gets to the end, it lies flatter. So I've not been very evenly spaced, I don't think, with my pipe cleaners, because I've got a big gap at that side and a small gap at that side. But there we go. Such is life. Might have been better with double-sided tape doing this when I think about it. Although I love my glue gun and use it all the time. Right. So I'm just going to hold that down until it dries, and then I'm going to fill this gap in with another pipe cleaner. If there is any gaps or bits you're not happy with, just put them to the back, because you won't see the back of them once they're on the wreath. So one more pipe cleaner. So let's say 6 pipe cleaners to cover a ball that's this size. That's quite a big one, actually. When I got it back from the shop, I thought, is that a bit big? Looks like a giant snowball. But no one expects these things to be in proportion. So I'm giving that a bit of a bend before we start, in the hope that it will not spring away. So as I said, I'm going on a snowball theme. You don't have to do snowballs. I did think about moon and stars, thought that would be quite nice if you wanted to do a different thing, and you could use star-shaped sequins and cut a crescent moon out of paper, white paper. Although I've got this nice pearlescent thin card, so that's what I've been using. Right, so this is going to just slot into that gap there. So I'm just going to cut it off. Put some glue in there, and then hopefully it will stick. Now there is, as I say, still a gap at the back. What I could do is go back and fill it in with this, but for me, because that's going to be the back, I'm going to leave that. So that is your fluffy snowball. So, okay, so that's one of our items. Right, as we're with the pipe cleaners, I'm going to go on next and show you the tree. So the pipe, I don't know where all these bits of thread are coming from. The pipe cleaners, you could either use white or brown, but because I didn't have many white ones left, and I knew I was going to use quite a lot on the pom-pom, I went with brown ones on my tree. It's just sat in a bit of polystyrene, not polystyrene, what do you call it? Plasticine, to hold it upright while I'm talking and while it was drying. So what I used was 3 of the pipe cleaners, but I might put all 5 in this time and just make a slightly bigger tree. And I cut them in half, roughly in half. Doesn't matter, because you do want them all to be different lengths, the branches. So what I did was cut mine afterwards. But this time I think if you don't cut it quite through the middle, you will get odd. There's one missing there. So gather them all together at the bottom, so they're the same length at the bottom. Then we're going to wire them together to make the trunk. So you need a very, very fine florist wire. This is very fine silver florist wire. It won't show, it'll sink into the fluffiness of the pipe cleaners. And I'm just going to wind this around just to hold them together. And take it as long as you think you need your trunk. I made the trunk quite tall on the other one, but this one I'm thinking, because small branches, we'll make it a bit shorter and stumpier, so it will look like a more mature tree. And then you just simply bend your branches out. They don't have to just be, you can give them really nice shapes. Again, it's going to be flat-sided, so it doesn't matter if, so the longer ones you can give a little bit more tweaking to. If you wanted to, you could cut some, if you had any more pipe cleaners, you could cut some shorter bits and make make more sort of cross branches, if you like, but I haven't got any to hand, so I shan't do that. So there's your tree. I'll lay it down flat because it's going to be a flat back. So then all you need to do, if you want, is to just brush it over with some of your acrylic paint. I haven't got my paintbrush to hand now because I took it to wash it. So you just dab it all over. And then if you want to put glitter on, you can just sprinkle the glitter on the wet paint. You can either then sit it to dry or you can blast it with the hairdryer. Either works well. So that is your original tree. That is it after it's painted. So I'm going to put the brown one to one side. I might use that for something else. And I'm going to use this one in my display. So that I'm putting to one side with my snowball I made earlier. Now, the other thing you're going to need on mine, I'll show you again. That's more snowballs, some more snowy things. So these are pom-poms. Can you see? Made with white yarn. These are like little fluffy pom-poms. This is nice. I'll show you this. They're pom-poms as well, but they're made with what's called eyelash yarn. And I've had this for a long time, and it's brilliant for doing Santa's beards when you're crocheting toys. So you can use some of that. You can either make a pom-pom with it, or there is a slightly simpler way of making it. Because it's ultra fluffy, this, it isn't easy to make a pom-pom using a pom-pom maker, and you get bits everywhere. But I'll show you another method. So we'll start with some pom-poms. You'll have seen me make pom-poms before, probably, if you've watched. I love a pom-pom maker. This is so much more sophisticated than when I was a child. These are clover pom-pom makers. They come apart for easy release. You wind it on in 2 halves. It is just amazing. You can get cheaper versions that are just like 2 discs, but they still come apart, which makes it so much easier. Right, so I'm gonna wind a whole pom-pom. I've got 2 sizes here. Now that in the clover ones, that is the smallest, and that is the next size up. And then there are 2 other sizes, but the other 2 sizes were too big for this wreath. Now I've already made a few of this size, so I'm going to do a little one because it's quicker. Okay, so what you do is you open your pom-pom maker up on one side, then you get your yarn and you just wrap it around. This one doesn't take very long to fill. Small, quick tip: if you're making bigger pom-poms, use 2 or 3 strands of yarn at the same time, of the same colour. It just winds on quicker. So I'd have like 3 small balls side by side and just wind on from the 3 balls at once, and that makes it just a little bit quicker to fill it up. Don't forget the edges. Frequently people just wind in the middle of these and you end up with an oval rather than round. That wouldn't really matter in this case because we're going to squash them on anyway. They're going to need a flat side. So when it's about that big, it's full. So we close it up. Open the other side, do the same. Just keep wrapping it round and round. And there, it's full. So we're trimming off the end so it's flush with our ball. Cut another short length to tie it with, and then cut it. Sharp pair of scissors for this job. Hi Irene, joining us. If you have a blunter pair of scissors, it will take you a lot longer to cut through all them strands. Then you just tie it, a double knot, It's not going to get any wear and tear and be moved around. So, you know, it's unlikely to come apart, but a nice good tight double knot. And again, you want to trim those ends so they're flush with the rest of your pom-pom. You can do a little bit of trimming of any ends while it's still on the pom-pom maker. And that makes life a little bit easier. Okay. To release it, you just undo the sides and pull it apart. And that's your pom-pom. Give it a bit of a roll and we'll add that to our stash. Now, the eyelash yarn. So what I did with mine, rather than do the, well, I did do some pom-poms with the pom-pom maker. I found it quite difficult. So what I'm going to show you is another method. So it's basically you're wrapping it around your fingers in a figure of 8. Fingers as wide apart as you want your pom-pom to be. Just keep winding round and round. It's a little tricky doing this one-handed, as you'll see in a minute, but just keep winding until you think you've got enough. Because this is very, very fluffy with the eye, it doesn't really matter if it's not as full, because the yarn will fluff out anyway. Now, what you do is you pass the end of your yarn between your fingers under where your figure of 8 crosses over, and then one-handed, or 1.5-handed, I should say, tie a knot, and then tie another knot. And the reason I'm saying do it one-handed is because if you take it off your fingers with the eyelash yarn, because it is so fluffy, I'm going to cut that one, that'll make it easier to tie. It's really difficult to find the loops again among the fluff. You can tell I've done this before, can't you? So there, that's my double knot. Now all you do is, alongside your fingers, don't cut yourself, is cut through the strands like that, and at the same at this side, trying to get them as even as you can. It's not as foolproof, this method, but you do get a sort of fluffy ball. It's quite effective. Probably could have done with a bit more winding round. I've missed one there. Oh no, but yeah, so that's the eyelash yarn. Right, I think we're ready to do a bit of assembly. I'm just going to make sure my glue gun's on. It had gone to sleep. And I'm going to just start, before I stick anything on, I'm going to assemble the shape, the design. So let me get rid of the fluff of the eyelash. Right, so I've got all my elements here. Now at the top, there's going to be the ribbon. I didn't show you the ribbon before. This is quite a nice ribbon. It's kind of gossamer, but it's got a iridescent sparkle on it. So one piece of it is going to be a bow. So roughly that much of it, little bow. And the other bit's going to be the hanger. But we'll come to that later. Now, all I'm going to assemble in my shape is the main elements. And I'll just pop that ribbon there. Then I know that's the top. I don't know whether you can see that. Let me just draw it forward, push it back a little bit so you can see. So that's the top of my wreath. On mine, I put the snowflakes, the large snowflakes around the top. So let me have a look in my box of tricks. Don't need that yarn anymore. So my snowflakes, I've got the plastic ones, the silver and white ones. So I'll have one silver and one white. Put them to one side. I've also got the paper one that I cut out. And I've got a crocheted one. This was actually on my postbox topper this Christmas. So when I was desperate for snowflakes, I rescued it. What's the difference between a snowflake and a star when you crochet? And star only has 5 petals, 5 points. I've also got this one. Cut that end off, which I made for something and I didn't use. That one might be a little bit big, so we'll try it in our design. So if we're looking at a clock face, number 12 is where the there's somebody called Hamed Kai appearing on my feed who's asking everybody to show their palms, and I'd rather he didn't. Right, that's the large snowflake. I'm going to put that one there, and I'm going to work my way up to 12 o'clock from 9 o'clock and round to 3 o'clock. So that one is going to be too big. We'll pop that to one side. I've got my large snowflake, and then I'm going to graduate them down in size. So I've got my paper one. Can you see all of this? I've got my iridescent one and my silver one. You can overlap them slightly if you want. And then this down here, I will put the little tiny snowflakes. I'm not going to lay them out because they're a pain to pick up again. So that's my large snowflake. And I'm going to move on now to the snowballs. I'm going to put the trees in first. So this is the tree I made earlier. I'm going to put that there. That is quite big. I might just cut some off that stem. I can overlap onto it. That's not a problem, but I'm just going to cut a bit off. You can just cut it with scissors, as long as they're not your best cutting scissors. And I'm just going to give it a little bit more of a tweak, so it looks more tree-like. Okay, so my tree's going to go there. I have to keep getting the glitter off my hands. Now, what I've also got in my Christmas box, and I've had these a long, long time as well. These are little cardboard trees, white and red, with glitter already on them. And I've used a couple of these on mine just to give some perspective. So we'll try a big one and a small one, and that'll give you a little bit of perspective. So I'll put them with my tree. The reason I set all this out like this is so before you glue anything on, you can actually see what your design is going to look like. So next thing is we're going to start with the snowballs. I'm going to put mine that way because I've had a little bit of difficulty with the rogue bit there. So there's my white snowball. And then I've got larger pom-poms. So 2 of those, I think. My fluffy pom-pom in there to balance it. And then I've got 3 of the smaller pom-poms. That's a large one. So we're coming back round, as you can see, up here. Then I've got a couple of these little tiny ones that are going to come up there. I'm glad that Village Hall have put a reminder up about that link, because I think that's rather cheeky. So I'm quite happy with that. I don't know how much of it you can see. I'll just tip a little bit, but that's always handy, is to lay out your design before you start sticking things on. So I think I'm happy with that. I'm just going to pop everything else I'm not using into my basket, and then it's not in my way when I come. Oh, look, there's a little tiny one there. We'll put that on as well. And I will bring up the wreath. I'm just going to gently slide all of this lot to one side in the rough design so I don't forget it. Okay. I keep getting glitter on everything. Right, we'll start with the wreath. So first thing to do is to tie your ribbon on so that we know which is the top and which is the bottom. I always find that helps me when you start to turn it round, you lose a little bit of, oh, where is everything? Now, to make your bow, I'm going to use another bit of this very fine florist wire. I'm going to fashion a bow out of the end of my, so what I'm doing is crossing over the ends and making a loop, then pulling the loop down, and then with the wire, I'm going to pinch together in the middle and wrap the wire around to hold it. This is how I've always made bows. I'm no good at tying them. My mum was a florist, so we used to make bows like this to go on things like buttonholes and things. So once you've got a shape you like, you can just snip the wire off. Oh, using my good scissors. That's not a good idea. Right. And then I'm going to just cut this angle more or less to match. So I've got two little points. Sorry, I'm holding it away where you can't see it. So that is my little bow, and I'm going to stick that on last. This bit is going to be my tie, and what I do is fold it in half, form a loop at one end, then pass the loop under the wreath, and the two loose ends go through the loop, and you make like a I don't know what you'd call it, running knot. But I always put a little dab of glue underneath it to stop it working its way around. I say a little dab, great big dab. It stops it sliding and keeps it in the right place. Just be careful if your ribbon is like my ribbon, because if you press down on it too hard with hot glue underneath, it'll end up burning your fingers. I'm just going to put some more on, because I don't think... One thing I did find with these wreaths, because they're not smooth in any way, you do have to be quite good with your, quite generous with your glue, because it will sink between the twigs if you're not careful. Right, so that's my ribbon tied on. I'm going to move that up there out of the way so I can start with my elements. So I'm going to start with the trees because they're quite fiddly, and I want them to be, so there's 12 o'clock, I want them to be at 9 o'clock on my wreath. So that's the big tree, and these are the two smaller trees, and I'm going to stick the smaller flat ones on first, and I'm actually going to glue the back, and I'm going to glue it quite generously up all the branches like that, and I'm going to glue that on there. Right, that's, I'm going to just pop another glue stick in my gun. Where's the other one gone? There. So the smaller one in perspective will be further away. Again, I'm going to glue the back of the tree with a good generous layer of glue, and I'm going to put it slightly higher and further away so it looks further away. They're both going to go behind this the pipe cleaner tree, so they will look like they're in the snowy distance, and then that's going to sit on top like that. So for this one, I'll put glue on the wreath and on the, I'm being very generous with my glue, and on the back of the pipe cleaner tree, and then pencil. Just glue that there. You only need to glue your elements in one place when you're using hot glue. Pretty much stuck. Okay, so that's that bit. So I think next we'll go round here with our snowballs. So there's our big snowball. I'm just gonna trim that bit off because it won't stick down and it's gonna stand a bit proud. So because you've got a white paper ball underneath, it's not too urgent that you get your ends all tucked in. But I'm gonna point that end outwards because that is the most attractive end, and I'm gonna do it about there. So again, oh, my glue's gone off now. I'm going to glue both the ball and the wreath, but I'm going to start with the ball because that might just be enough. Luckily, because it's only just gone off, it's still quite hot in there. And I'm going to try and find a place which is fairly flat. See if that's enough. You're welcome, Rosemary. They are nice ideas. There, that looks fairly secure. Anything that doesn't, when you've got to the end, you can always go back and do another round of sticking. Now, I've still got the ends on that one. Next one is going to be my fluffy one. This will stick wherever you put it. Now, eyelashed yarn one there. And fluff it up a bit. And then my next size of pom-pom. I do like to graduate them in size. I'm a little bit finicky like that. I thought I had another piece of eyelash yarn somewhere. Let's see if it's still in that box. Yeah. I had two, but I think I'm going to just go with one of that size and then one of the smaller size. Like that. And then I'm going to place some of the others at random. These are the small ones as well, just so it gives it a knot. It's not in a straight line. And this little bit of eyelash, I think I'll put on the inside of there. I have run out of glue now. Pop another stick in. I have now got, because all last year I made wreaths all the time, so I have now got a wreath for every season. Last year's winter door wreath, was a pom-pom wreath, all in sort of Scandi neutrals, which I did for Village Hall, and it was very, very nice. But this year I thought I'd have a change because I had to do another demo, and this one is going to go on my door, and the other one is for my sister-in-law in Scotland, who will receive it in the post very shortly. And the final one I think is going to be this tiny. Now I'm going to use another one of these. It's not going quite round as far as I thought it was going to go. And I'm going to put another small one in there. I'll glue that. Put that there. There. Quite happy with that. Got this tiny little one. And I got one of these left. We use them for gnome noses. There we go. So I'm quite happy with the arrangement on that side. Which way does he want to go that? So you can see how I've got my tree at 9 o'clock and I've gone round past 6 o'clock to sort of nearly round to 20 past. So now I'm going to do my snowflakes going the other way. So I'm going to use that one, and as I said, so I'm going to glue that in first, trying to avoid touching it with my fingers. Now this, when you crochet, Jack's trying to get on the sofa. When you crochet anything like this, like a flower, you quite often have a hole in the center. I haven't come prepared, but I will put a pearl bead in there, I think. This yarn's quite nice because it's got an iridescent thread running through it, so it gives it a kind of sparkly effect. Right, so the next one's going to be my paper one, but I want to put that slightly proud. So what I'm going to do is go back to, this is the plasticine I used earlier to hold my tree upright, and I'm going to pop that on and then stick that paper one on with that. No, it's not going to work. That will have to be glue. So I'll put a big blob on and hope it sits a little proud. It's coming through. So let's hope that sticks. Then I've got my two, my silver one and my white one, which is iridescent on the other side. So I think I'll put it the iridescent way around. I'm going to stick the iridescent one there because it matches that lovely. See that these are plastic and the hot glue is slightly melting them. And then the last one in the middle between them. Oh, that doesn't want to stick. Maybe try putting the glue somewhere else where it's more prominent. There is a slight problem with kind of thin things and this vine wreath, because again, it's not solid. If you were using a polystyrene wreath or a papier-mâché wreath base, it would be easy to stick things on. Right, so we're nearly done now. The last final few touches are our tiny snowflakes and our ribbon. I'm going to do the ribbon first because I'm not going to do all the tiny snowflakes because they take ages and you don't want to watch me gluing snowflakes on. So let me turn my wreath. You can't see that now. Just trying to get it so it was easy to see and easy for me to see as well. Here at the top where you put the glue on, that's where you glued the thing. That's where I'm going to put my bow. So I'm going to dot some glue onto the top of the ribbon and put the bow on like that. Again, hold it till it sticks. And then, can you see that? Yeah. So that's my bow. Right, with these little snowflakes, they too have a shiny side and a white side. So I'm going to alternate and do shiny white, shiny white. And I'm going to glue the actual snowflake because I'll find a place where they'll stick, just because they're quite tiny. Can you see? Just stuck that one there. I'll do this one white, side up. And I will keep alternating them round. I'll just do a few more. Sometimes it's difficult to see which side is which. I shall just scatter a few more on this top bit. Just kind of, if you make them thicker, like closer together near the big ones, it will kind of look like it's a flurry that's decreasing, if you like, as it gets towards the ground, thicker at the top. And I'll do one more and then I shall leave it for that because I can do the rest after we've finished, before I send it off. To find a box first that it'll fit in. The pizza boxes are quite good if you're so then take a final look, and what I'm noticing is a gap here. I can see where I've stuck the big snowball on. I can see the base of the tree and here. So luckily enough, I have 2 pom-poms left. Just give that one a little trim to get the odd ends off it. I'm going to stick these, one there and one there, and I think that will finish it off beautifully. So glue. And it's done. What do you think? You're going to give me some comments. Okay, I'm going to turn the camera back up without it falling over, hopefully. Hello. I don't know what sort of day you've got here, but once again here, it's really sunny. Every time I come on with you, it's really sunny and I have to close the curtains. That's why I look a little bit, it looks a little bit dim. Right, so I'm all covered in fluff now. I'm going to show you them side by side. That's the one I made yesterday. That's going to be my dory. And this is the one I've made today, and this is going to be for Jean, my sister-in-law. So what do you think? I think they're lovely. If you're worried about cost, rummage through everything you've got left from Christmas and just use whatever you've got. I mean, as long as it's not Christmassy, it doesn't matter. Odds and ends of yarn. I've used pre-made little fluffy balls here, but you could just use cotton wool balls. Snowflakes you could cut out of paper if you're very patient. You know, there's a method where you fold it into little, is it 6? You fold it and then you just cut notches out. When you unfold it, it's a snowflake shape. I have seen some on the internet. I had great difficulty folding mine, so I wasn't showing you them today. Again, a few pipe cleaners, bits and pieces you've got around the house. These wreath bases, I bought a pack of 4 from a well-known online retailer, and they worked out at about £3 each. I did see them in Hobbycraft and they were a lot more expensive. If you don't want to spend that money, in the past I've done a video showing you how to make a one from papier-mâché, from cardboard tubes and papier-mâché wreath base, and then painting it or covering it with ribbon. So I will try and repost that video if I can find it, so you can have a look how to make your own wreath base. And that would be more or less everything you can just find. I'm trying to think what else you could make. As I say, you don't have to go with just the white. I like the white. You could go with some pale blue in it as well, sort of icy blue. And that's us finished. So that will help cheer up my porch now that all the Christmas decorations have come down. It looks very bare. So I'll hang that on my door alongside I have a twig tree that I made in lockdown. And it gets redecorated every season. So Christmas decorations have just come off, and I've put on some little wooden shapes I bought as Christmas decorations, but they're like things like sweaters and skates and skis, so they're not exactly Christmas, they're wintry. So that's on my tree, and then this will look nice beside it. The other thing, what did I say? The other suggestion I made to you was if you wanted to replace the snowflakes with moons and stars, that would be quite nice. So you would have a nightscape. But I think that is us, and I hope you've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it. I think my sister-in-law will love it, and I'll catch you again soon. I'm not quite sure when I'm back, but I'm sure I will catch you soon. So everybody have a really good New Year. Stick to your resolutions if you've made any. Mine's not to take the car anywhere in the village, so I'm going to walk everywhere in the village. And I will see you again soon. Thanks for joining me, and goodbye.